One of the true things we have to focus on as sales managers is to ensure that when trainees come in, when they're able to go through the training overall, that they hit the floor and you're able to coach and support them so that they can become active and generate sales. So when you look at the flow, we already discussed that obviously recruiting needs to send in a steady stream of agents so that you can have the growth that you're looking for every week. Let's say you have a new batch of trainees. By and large, many of the centers have dedicated trainers. And so the trainees are going to go through training on their first day, both the center specific training, your training that we have in the university, and webinars, role play, and reviewing of the sales calls. What is very important is that by the end of the first day, the agents are allowed to get on the phone for at least an hour or two. The reason is this. One, some of them are apprehensive about how it's going to be on the sales floor. Two, they have a number of questions both on the platform, the CRM, as well as the script, how to dial, a number of different things. When you use the first couple hours of the first day to get many of these initial questions out of the way, you set yourself up to succeed by making sure day two on the floor is a solid day of dialing. The agent has his station set up, they understand what their phone is, where they're going to dial, if they're going to call off directories. They've role played significantly in their day one training. They've been able to dial and get some dials through so that you can coach them overall. And then on day two, we make sure that there's a solid day of dialing, an expectation is set at 300 dials, and no matter what, the sales manager is working and coaching with those trainees who are only on day two with the center to make sure that they are dialing, they're getting talk time, and that they are turning over the calls to the sales manager to make sure, no matter what, that the sales manager gets some sales, is able to help them get active. The confidence goes up, the ability level goes up, they learn at an even higher rate, and we make sure to support them this way. When agents are left training in a classroom setting or to figure it out on their own, and their sales managers are not there to ensure that the revenue is met, they tend to have a much longer learning curve. It's very difficult and frustrating for them. Their confidence falls, and they get further and further away from making their first sale. As opposed to an agent who gets on their phone on day one, is able to help TO to a sales manager on day one, and lo and behold, they're able to get a sale on day one, on day two, and so forth. It not only builds the confidence of the team, of the agent, it builds the confidence of the team. The trainees in every batch look at each other, tries to see who will be the best, who will be kind of average, and where they will be in terms of their performance as it relates to the rest of the batch. It's important to make sure that they are excited, competitive, and that you're able to get sales for your trainees as soon as possible, ideally on day one, and you do that from a TO. The quicker you get your trainees to generate revenue, the higher the percentage will be of the trainees to stick with you because they see that it works. They're excited about the opportunity. They believe that they themselves can do it. And they're excited to get to that 3 or 5 deal mark within their first week. So, day one, they go through online training. You make sure that they're on the phones for the last hour or two in the day. Day two, they have a full day of dialing. So they're definitely handing over calls for TOs. They're definitely working with you on post-call coaches. They're definitely making sure to try and get a sale as quickly as possible. So not only do you do post-call coaches with every agent all the time, you're using Asternic to listen, whisper, barge, so that whenever you have the slightest opportunity to generate a sale with one of your trainees, you go in, you either whisper and coach them to how to move forward with the sale, or you take over the call and you generate the sale that way. But truly, Throughout the day on day two, the trainees should be taken off the phones for a 30-minute breakout session periodically to address questions, to identify how people are doing, to point out the top producers. They are working through on the floor, but it's important that they continue to get the support. Many of our centers do periodic breakouts for the trainees. They do meetings in the morning at a longer for a longer time, because even though you have your huddles pre-shift and post-shift, it's important to spend 30-40 minutes with the new hires, with the trainees, and make sure that their questions are addressed. Like I said, you have to identify the top producers so that everyone else is competitive, is pushing to be a top producer, and can see the performance and the success of their peers who started with them. So don't forget the impact that you can create by identifying and really recognizing the top producers within that training class. Many times, centers even have a specific incentive for the first sale within a certain batch, or the agent that creates the most sales within a batch for the first week. I have other centers that have kind of a record keeping hall of fame. Most sales in a day is held by this agent. Most sales in a week is held by this agent. Most sales of a first training week out of a new batch is held by this agent. That kind of recognition costs you nothing, and it is very impactful to the sales floor. And everyone runs to get that placement, to be able to have that achievement, to have their peers see them in that way. So again, the quicker you get your agents to revenue, the faster you get them sales, the faster you get them active, the better you will be at maximizing every batch that recruitment sends you. Because if you only keep, let's say something horrible, let's say 2 out of every 10 new hires every week that recruiting gives you, it's going to take you forever to get any kind of sizable team. But if you successfully keep 8 out of 10 trainees and get them revenue and get them active out of the first week of every batch, very quickly you can grow, and you can grow to a massive amount. In 4 weeks, you'll have 32 active agents. In 10 weeks, you would have 80 active agents. Plus, the more you generate revenue with those agents, the more they're happy with their job and getting incentives, the more they refer their friends, and they grow your floor to supplement even your recruitment efforts. It is so important. It comes down to making sure the sales manager is able to generate sales and get their agents, the new trainees, to be active in their first week, because they stay, they learn faster, they perform better, and it grows and increases the synergy and competition in your team overall. And that is the key to a successful team. We have to make sure that we maximize every opportunity, because the recruitment department works very diligently to get new people to come in, and it is expensive to hire and train and make sure to invest in every agent. We have to make sure we make the most of them. We can't have them fall out. We can't have them not succeed. We have to make sure that through the coaching and the TOs and the whispering and the barging of the sales manager, that we generate sales, we get them active, and we get them to where they need to be. So truly, this is a new week. We're on Tuesday of a new week. You all have a batch of trainees there with you on the floor. Make sure that you're getting them sales today. Make sure that the day ends with each and every one of them at 1. Tomorrow ends with each and every one of them at 2. And by Thursday, you have them off of the hit list. You have them performing, you have them working, and it's working overall, and you're growing your team the way that you need to. Okay, so that's our brief synopsis for today. I want to
Oh,
definitely,
Chris,
yes.
it's Dennis here.
Hi, Dennis. How are you doing?
Doing fine, Chris. Anyway, you mentioned about the astronomic earlier.
Yes.
Yeah, it actually shows the number of agents calling, and the number there on the right hand side says number of calls. Would that be the total number of dials being answered, or
Sometimes,
total number of dials all in all, including no answers, voicemail?
so when you're looking at it, let me pull up your
Chris?
name. Dennis, can you hear me? Dennis?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Okay, let me
Yeah,
go
I can
into
hear you.
your team so that I can look at it quickly and I can answer you. So,
Hmm.
truly, there are a couple different ways to look at the dials for your team. So,
Hmm.
what agent specifically are you looking at so that we can look at the same thing?
Let's say 500202.
202. Okay, let me load your report real quick.
Mm-hmm. Let's check. Because sometimes when I check, the real time when they do calls and automatic calling. Now on the right hand side, you can see number of calls. So I just wonder if this numbers, those numbers reflected, are those numbers um, calls being answered by by gatekeepers, answering machines, or oh no, would that be the calls that are not answered, just just keep on ringing? Is would that be counted as well?
Okay, so the calls on the right-hand side of the real-time
Hmm.
report are the calls that are
Yes.
connected. And
I'm sorry.
they're the calls that are connected.
And
They're answered. So when you
answered.
get a no
Okay.
answer, or when you get when you get a no answer, so voicemails would count, gatekeepers would count, but when you get a no answer, that would not count because the call
Okay.
was not
Okay.
connected.
Oh, okay.
The
Now I
other
see.
place you can see the report is in Astronic under the Answered tab. There's a report called
Answered.
Answered by Agent.
Answered by agent. There you go.
And when you look at it, you can see the answers there. You can see the talk time. You can see average talk time. You can see a lot of information there. And then when you look at total calls, because you want to see all dials, not just connect,
Mm-hmm.
you can look at it by the distribution report. So if you look at
Distribute.
distribution per hour,
There you go.
you
Okay.
can see how many dials collectively for all of your agents that are there today, how many dials you have in the first hour of work, the second hour, the third hour. And you can see both dials, which is under the received column, and answered, which
Mm-hmm.
is under the connects, which is under the answered column. So let me show you a bit. So I have a couple different centers that I'm looking at, and I'll show you answered by agent. I'll
Mm-hmm.
show you on my screen. Hold on one second. Here, let me just log in as you so we can have the same information in the
Okay.
video. Hold on. Oh, I'm simply 1 second. Okay, I'm just putting in your extensions. So, in case
Mm-hmm.
more of you have questions about Astronic, let's just run this
Mm-hmm.
check. So, this is the data for the center. Okay. So, as it is, how many agents currently do you have dialing today, Dennis? Dennis?
So I have six.
6. So this is the total
Yeah,
number of
Chris.
dials. Okay, this is the total number of dials right now. See how as soon as you click run on the Astroneck, because I made a selection over here, and then I hit display
Mm-hmm.
report, because I'm only looking at one certain center of agents. What? See, I selected certain things. When I click display report, immediately it will go to the distribution tab. When you're on the distribution
Yes.
tab
Uh-huh.
here, you can see the total number for your office. So you have 174 dials total and 143 answered. So the question is,
Yes.
if you're looking at it,
Uh-huh.
you have 6 agents, right? What time did you start your shift today?
Yes. Oh, we started at 8 PST.
8 PST. So you've been on the phone for 2 hours,
Mm-hmm.
but you were training earlier, right? So you only did maybe 1 hour of
Yeah.
training.
Let me check. No, not 8 PST. It's 11 p.m. here.
That's 8.
So that's gonna
That is
be
8. That's 8.
mm,
So you
mm.
have 174 dials, right? Among 6 agents.
Yes.
So dials
Yes.
per agent. So 174 dials divided by 6 agents is what? How many dials is that per agent?
174 divided by 6. That's 29.
29. How many hours of dialing do you have so far? 1?
11. Now it's 1:20 here. So they're taking their break. So 11, 12. Yeah, it's 2 hours.
But weren't you on the training this morning for 1 hour with your agents?
I think it's less than an hour. Maybe it was 45 minutes.
Okay, so let's say you were
30.
on for 1.5 hours, right? How many dials are you
Yeah.
supposed to have per hour per agent?
Well, I have the at least they should have at least 100 dials per hour, at least.
100
That's
dials per hour?
that includes unanswered calls.
How many dials per day are you supposed to have?
If as much as they can, as much as they
What
can,
is the target, Dennis?
if they can, yeah. If well, 400 dials would be, doable. So 100 dial, that's going to be, I think, the maximum. But if they could do 100 dials per hour, that would be better. But most of them we're able to dial, I think, 20 or 50 dials per hour.
Okay, so
20 to
100
50.
dials is not
That's the range.
100 dials per hour is not possible. So the target
Yes, I
is
know.
300 dials per day. So if you
Hmm.
divide 300 dials per day divided by an 8-hour day, you get 37.5 dials per hour per agent. Do you understand that?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Now, if you take the number of dials times the hours that you've been dialing, what is the total? You're supposed to do 37.5 dials per hour per agent, and you've been
Hmm.
dialing for an hour and a half. So what is 37.5 times 1.5?
Times 1.5. That's going to be 56.25.
Okay, so you should be at a total dial amount of 56.25 for now per agent, and you have 6 agents.
Per times
You should be at a
6.
total number of dials of 337.
337.
So,
Yes.
oops,
So that's um,
what is it?
mhm.
Equals target minus current. Well, equals current minus target. That'll be a negative. So you are short by 163 because your agents equals,
Oh, Chris.
yes.
Hello.
Can you hear me, Dennis?
Chris.
Can you hear me, Dennis?
Hello, Chris. You're
Um,
breaking up.
Can you hear me?
yep, Chris.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, so I need you to understand what we're saying. So if your target amount of dials for the day is 300, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you've been dialing for an hour and a half and you have 6 agents, you should be at
Mm-hmm.
337 dials so far. But
Okay, so we're short of.
your agents are only dialing 20 dials per hour on average. You have 6
Okay.
agents. They've
Mm-hmm.
dialed 174 numbers. That means each agent has dialed about 29, and all of the agents together are averaging 19. So let's look here. Let's look
Mm-hmm.
at um, answered by agent. When you look, this agent here is at 51, then 30, then 26, 14, 17, and 6. So look at the difference between the top dialing agent and the lowest dialing agent. It's significant, right?
Okay. Yes.
You need to make sure that the
Mm.
agents that are not dialing as much are on target and solve whatever it is that the problem is so that they can perform the way that they need and stay on pace.
Okay. I see that.
But the job of making sure that the dials are there, the talk time is
Hmm.
there, and the sales are there is the job of the sales manager. If your agents are not dialing enough, you should be tracking that consistently throughout the day to make sure that they're on pace. You can't let half a day pass or three-quarters of the day pass and then realize that your agents are very short of their target. You have to make sure to manage to stay on pace throughout the day so that overall you can be sure to meet your goals. Your goal is to make sure that the dials are there, the talk time is there, the turnovers are there so that you can ensure to make sales, and that your sales overall are generated. Right?
Hmm. Okay.
Does that make sense, Dennis?
There you go. Yes, that's it, Chris. Because I've actually been wondering how to check their number of dials, and there it is. It's in front of me.
Okay,
Okay. Thank you so much, Chris.
no problem. Any other questions, guys?
Hello, Chris. Can we, may I ask again for the address so that we can access the page, so that we can check also our agents?
Sure, you can just reach out to Scott. This is you can reach Scott is your support person, correct?
Okay.
You're working with Scott, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Just reach out to Scott and he can reconfirm all of your access information so that you have it, okay?
Okay.
It's a little
Okay.
bit
Thank you.
different for each center. That's the reason why I say that.
Oh.
Okay?
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Chris.
No problem. Any other questions? Okay, team, thank you so much for taking the time, and we'll chat again on Thursday. Focus on your agents, make sure they're generating revenue, and make sure you take everyone off the hit list, okay, team?
Okay, Chris. Thank you so much,
I'll
Chris.
talk to you on Thursday. Thank you.
Hey, bye bye.